Now, I'm a big fan of mini consoles, and as you can see, I have a couple of them. And yes, that's an Amiga. But today we're introducing a new baby to the family, the Atari branded, retro games designed, the Mini 400. The attractively packaged box shows us that while this is called the Mini 400, it's capable of emulating the 400, the 800, the XL, the XE and the 5200. So that's quite a span. Now the back of the box highlights the CX stick, a replica Atari joystick. More on that in a bit. Now opening the box, we have the 400 Mini itself and the joystick nicely presented. I'll remove the joystick, which has kind of a death-like grip on the packaging. So this isn't a very good unboxing, is it? Then I'll take out the Mini. There's a really minimalistic instruction guide, but a full manual is available for download. And finally, packaged in a separate box, there are colour-coordinated HDMI and USB-A to USB-C cable. You might, however, notice the startling lack of a power brick, colour-coordinated or otherwise. So having a look at the joystick, we have rubber feet. And I don't know why I was surprised by that, but like a quick-fire joystick, I was kind of expecting those rubberized suckers. But it matters. The cable is about 1.70 m, or I guess 5'10" in old money. And I'd say that's on the short side for a device that I think many people might want to put underneath the television and play from the couch. Good luck with that. On the whole, the joystick feels kind of meh. The button is mushy, and the travel on the joysticks are really short, which is probably as it was originally, and maybe it'll get slightly more loose with use, but it doesn't feel great. Now there are 4 buttons on the top of the base, and the first one is top, and then there are 3 directional buttons styled on the Atari logo, and that's kind of a neat touch, I think. There are also 3 buttons on the rear, a home button, a menu button, and a bumper. Now the home and the menu buttons are tiny, and it's very easy to click the wrong one by mistake, so you have to be a bit careful. Now they might be together like this to make the design closer to the original, but nevertheless it actually makes the joystick less usable. Okay, that's the joystick. Now we come to the star of the show, the 400 Mini. This is a mini console. It's not easy to describe just how teeny tiny it is, but let's have a measure. So it's about 13 centimeters or 5 inches deep, and round about 15 centimeters or 6 and a bit inches wide. Now the bottom is wholly unremarkable, but the top, well, the top is gorgeous. Let's say, as it always is with retro games kit, their moulding and modelling is awesome. And this keyboard feels like the membrane keyboard on the original, even if it's non-functional. And we can have no complaints there, as you'd have to file your fingers down at the size of a pencil point to use them. So, yeah, no problems. And the power LED is exactly where it was on the original, although not to scale. And unlike some other mini consoles, there are no openable hatches. And I really think they missed the trick here by not having one with a USB connector in it for extra games. I'd actually pay good money for a separate USB stick, style like a Atari 400 cartridge that you could put in that top slot. But bill of materials, I guess. So that's what's in the box. Let's fire it up and get to the screen capture. So after the initial boot logo and the music stab, we get into some one-time configuration screens. Select your language from the available ones and press fire to select it, and then the top button to proceed. Now you select between 50 Hz and 60 Hz. I chose 60 as I think that was kind of like the original North American frequency that these games ran at. For real consoles, 60 Hz often gives you better performance because it is literally 30 frames a second instead of 25 frames a second. I'm not sure here if that's the case, but since my monitor is 250 Hz, it makes no never mind to me. Once you hit fire and select your frequency, what you're supposed to do is press the left button on the dial on the top of the joystick to run a screen test, and then, assuming all is good, press the right button to proceed. Now I have to say I was a bit stymied by this. I was clicking around and trying all sorts of stuff until I actually read the on-screen instructions. But once you've passed this mini IQ test, you're into the main menu and listening to some jaunty chiptune music. Now you can navigate the games using the joystick left and right, and as I mentioned there are 25 of them. Airball, Asteroids, Basketball, Battlezone, Berserk, Boulder Dash, Bristles, Capture the Flag, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Electroglide, Encounter, Flip and Flop, Henry's House, Hover Bother, Lee, which I think is Bruce Lee, but they obviously don't have the naming rights anymore, Mule, Millipede, Miner 2049er, Missile Command, O'Reilly's Mine, 7 Cities of Gold, Star Raiders 2, Wavy Navy, Yomp. Now the inclusion of Yomp is interesting because it has the distinction of being an indie game developed in 2007, 23 years after Atari stopped shipping the 5200 console. So I mean, kudos to Retro Games for including it, and I hope the guys got some money out of it. Now as you navigate, the UI shows a description of each game and some in-game graphics to show it off. It'll also show if a game is single player or multiplayer, and if you've given it a star rating, it'll show the star rating here. Now there's also a little graphic here that shows if there's a save state for the game, and the number of filled bars show you how many slots the game is using. Now what it doesn't show is if it's a 400 game, an 800 game, or a 5200 game, which is just a curious omission. So hitting joystick up on this carousel shows you the help screen, which shows what the various buttons do. Joystick down gets you the save game screen, more of which later. Pressing the menu button on the back of the joystick gets you into settings. Display options allow you to specify the aspect ratio. Enabling the CRT effect will simulate scan lines. I don't bother usually, but your mileage may vary. Language allows you to change the language, and that's the exact screen that was presented at the start. Advanced options allow you to set the music volume, and this is where you can actually turn that off. Very strangely though, with the sound volume, it's left arrow on the ring at the top to decrease the volume and fire to increase it. Why not left and right? I just have no idea. I don't know who designed the interface on this. Now system info shows you the build details, including the version number. Now this device isn't internet connected, so checking for updates is going to be a manual task. Now there isn't or wasn't a day one update, but I would expect one to come. A little later you'll see a bug as I'm demoing it, and Retro Games do publish updates with bug fixes and even the occasional new game. Now legal notices are really just that, so I'm going to skip it. And finally, factory reset will allow you to reset the 400 Mini and in the process lose all of your saved state. But it's useful for doing videos like this when you've been playing with the device for a few days and you want to reset it so you can show the setup process. Jolly good. Back on the main screen, you can favourite or rate your game using the left arrow, and the rating cycles around. You can sort your games by hitting right arrow and selecting either by genre, by year, by publisher, by favourite, or back to the default by title. Okay, let's have a look into some of the in-game features, shall we? So let's play a game of Miner 2049er. And we're going to check out two incredibly cool features of the 400 Mini, which are saved game states and rewind action. Now both of these are useful because 8-bit games were rock hard, influenced by the arcade games of the 80s, and the mantra there was, make them difficult, only give them a limited number of lives, and start each level afresh if you lose a life. More coins, please! So here I am in Miner 2049er. I've completed part of the level, and I just decided I want to save at this point. So I'll hit the home button on the back and go to the main menu. And up there on the right at the top, you can see the current game state. Hitting home on the back goes back into the game where I left off. Now, back on the main menu, if I want to save that state, I click down on the joystick, selecting a save slot by moving right and left, and then hitting fire to store the state. So again, back on the main menu, I'm going to start 2049er from start, and you can see the state is just the initial state. However, back on the home screen, I'm going to hit joystick down, select our save state, and press fire. And then we pop back into the game where we were when we saved it. Now that's all great, but occasionally you get deaded when you really don't expect it, and you might have to go back to a save state that's quite old. However, the 400 Mini offers a live rewind function. You can skip back up to 40 seconds of previous play. So I'm going to activate this by pressing the home button on the back and hitting joystick left at the same time. This takes you into the rewind menu, which slides out from the left. By hitting joystick left, you can jump back in 10-second chunks, and hitting right will move it forward. And the screen updates to show you what's in that time slot. When you find the point you want to go back to, hit fire and you're back 30 seconds ago, say. It's a nice little get out of jail free card. Now back on the carousel, and looking at the games, just to say there are a few classics that are missing. I mean, where's Pac-Man? Where's Defender? And I think the answer to that is probably at the lawyers. Thankfully, though, you can add your own games using a USB drive. Now, this drive has to be formatted FAT32. And I found the 400 Mini was a little fussy when it comes to USB sticks, and I had to try a couple of different ones before one worked, but mine are actually quite old now thinking about it, so a modern one should be fine. I turned the 400 off, inserted the drive and turned it back on again. I don't know if you have to do that, but when you do, it'll show up in the carousel like any game. So hitting fire goes into the drive content, and here you can see the 4 games I put on there. To play a game, you select it and press fire. Now that moves it into that list at the bottom, and then hitting home will launch you into the game. Now once in a game, pressing home takes you back to the main carousel view once again. At least sometimes it does. Other times the 400 Mini powers off, so there's a bug here that needs to be fixed. And while you're on that carousel view, you can of course save the state. So you can use the same functionality on the carousel that you can with a game that's built in. Now a lot of software is distributed on floppy disk images, and if you have multiple floppy disk images, you can select them one by one, add them to the list at the bottom, and then they'll be loaded in turn. You can also create metadata files where you can list a set of images and then have that metadata file appear in the top list as a single entry, which just makes, running the game quicker. Now that functionality will have to wait for a more detailed video, so let me know in the comments below if that's something you would like. So what are my thoughts on the 400 Mini? Well, there are a couple of downsides. I mean, the lack of a power brick in a £100 device is criminal. This isn't a portable device like a tablet or a phone where you can use one charger across many different devices. The 400 Mini belongs under the TV as a permanent fixture and needs a dedicated PSU, so they're just reducing the bill of materials cost to make more profit. The joystick is a bit of a flop for me. The buttons are mushy, the travel on the stick is tiny, but thankfully they've made attaching and using third-party joysticks really easy. You might want to go wired, as the latency on those USB dongles isn't always great. On the plus side, however, we have an excellent physical mini replica of a classic console. I collect these things almost as models than consoles. That they play games is almost a bonus at times. I remember when I unboxed my A500 Mini for the first time and seeing those perfectly modelled little mini keys, it was just absolutely awesome. And on the whole, apart from that one issue I've talked about, the software is solid, usable, and gets the job done and looks attractive. I think the game save state and rewind functionality is just fantastic. It's a boon for somebody with old man reaction times like I have. So would I recommend buying one, or would a Raspberry Pi likely be better? Honestly, the Pi would probably win out for functionality. And with the front ends available on the Raspberry Pi, you can add your own artwork, cartridge images, etc. So that's really, really good. However, if like me, you love the concept of mini consoles, or perhaps you just aren't technical enough to install and configure a front end and emulators on a Raspberry Pi, then I would heartily recommend it. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon.